Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Faithful to the Traitors. God blimey, what an episode that was, God blooming it.
Bloody hell, I never saw that coming. I was blindsided, so I was.
That is our British impression of New Zealand ex-retiree policewoman Jane.
Thank you.
I am Ben, and I am forever faithful.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Alex.
Right.
And I am also faithful. Although, Ben, I've got a little note I want to give to you.
Don't let it slip out of my skirt and land on the wrong
on the chair
and have someone else find it. Please.
Do you know? I'm glad you said that, because when Mark did that and gave that note to Utah as he was heading off to bed, my first thought was it a drawing of Utah naked laying across, say, Shay's lounge, like in something from Titanic?
We could all wish.
Maybe Mark has a hidden talent. But then my second thought was, remember when in the US Traitors a note fell out of someone's pocket? And so I just thought to myself, please don't do that.
Yeah, done very unnaturally. This one I feel was a bit more natural. But like how
I want to draw you like my French girls is what Utah said to Mark as he went upstairs.
I'll leave the door on the latch.
Yeah. Knock 3 times.
And I'll know it's you and not Paul Henry.
Yeah, he's 4 knots. With a bottle of gin and a plate of ribs.
Yeah, you hear a cane and someone walking up the stairs. Oh, it's Paul.
Oh, Paul's here again.
Or is it Mark? Who knows?
That's true.
It made me laugh how dramatic Mark was being, especially on that final scene where he was perched on the edge of the leather sofa.
I know.
He was there with his head down, letting people walk by. He shook some people's hands, ignored others, and I was like, he's literally thinking in his head, I am a Batman villain.
And
then he passed the note over to Utah. I was like, my job is done. It's like he is just playing the cameras.
I don't think he's a villain. I think in his head he thinks he's like her, Poirot or Miss Marple. He's like sat there watching for fun. At the end, in a few episodes' time, he's going to gather everyone round the lounge and say, "Right, here are my thoughts, and this is who I think is the actual traitors."
If he does ever get banished as a traitor, which we don't even know yet, but if he does, we know that exit speech is going to be over the top and long.
Well, it's just the disillusion in Mark's head that he truly believes that all the accusations and all the puppetry and all it has been mastered by him. Like I think Mark in his mind thinks that everything that's happened to this point has been orchestrated by him in one way or another. Even though he said, I was really surprised by the outcome.
He didn't actually know Mike.
He was the only one who didn't vote for Mike around the round table. And but he was like, yeah, but there's something deep down inside of me has really put the pieces together, and now I really know who the people are. It's like Mark's illusions of grandeur is just insane.
All consuming.
Him and Brianna, we said this right at the beginning. They should have got together and started their crazy detective club, and I would have been on board with it. I would have loved to seen the outcomes of their collective.
There could be a series. Brianna is a triple threat singer, actress, faithful.
Yep.
So, there's a spin-off series there, 8-episode run, mystery each week.
Feels like a daytime show.
Yeah.
Where they go around to a different, like Murder, She Wrote.
Jane makes a cameo, 1 episode. The retiree police officer, they need her help, her contacts.
She can be like,
she's there with a fag in her hand.
Who's the Tom Bosley? Who was a Tom Bosley character from like Murder, She Wrote? The police detective.
I don't know what Tom Bosley is.
That's what Jane would be. But he was basically the detective, the police sergeant. And he had that other one who was like, all right, they're cheating. He talks like in a really kind of funny accent. What's his name? Anyway,
I don't know.
Irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Anyway, before we get into our discussion too much, we need to let people know how they can contact us.
Oh my goodness, we haven't done that yet.
No, you haven't.
Hi everyone, hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. This is a faithful podcast, and we'd love to hear, or a traitors, that's not even that. Christ. This is a Traitors podcast, all about the different traitors from around the world. We're talking about the New Zealand series right now, series 2. And if you have any thoughts or ideas or theories or anything at all you want to get in touch with us about, please do. You can email faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @TraitorsPodcast, on Instagram and Threads @FaithfulToTheTraitors. You can find us on YouTube, where you can comment underneath the video that you may be watching right now by searching Faithful to the Traitors Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell. Don't forget to follow us. Don't forget to write a 5-star review if you enjoy listening or watching the podcast. And indeed, if you want to help support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/faithful. And newsflash, everyone, I just want to update people. We've been asking the cast of the Traitors, how do they get to work? Do they ride a bike to work?
Yes, because Widamu famously in his fact file,
yes,
rode a bike to work. So yeah, some are playing
One has played.
We're waiting, people. So, don't let the team down. Are you a true faithful or not?
All right, Jane. Jane has updated us.
Who's Jane?
She's that bloody detective, isn't she? She's come from over the pond. She's let us know that she doesn't ride a bike to work, but she does ride an electric scooter.
Okay.
There you go. So as Ben says, we're waiting, cast.
Well,
we've now had 4 people let us know.
Does Mike ride a bike to the building site? Who knows? Who knows?
That is just poetry.
We will never know.
Will Mike get in touch with us?
Will anyone? Nobody knows.
Will Bean?
On our YouTube channel, we've had a few comments. Mm-hmm. Lots of long comments. So go on there, read them. I can't read them all because they're like paragraphs. But one has taken my fancy, which says, "Hello, boys.
Tickled you, has it?
As always, I'm loving the podcast. Yes, Traitors New Zealand is truly turning out to be the best of the franchise. Yeah, series 1 was great. I feel that this episode was the peak now. That last 10 minutes with all the...
It was good, this episode.
Because it comes a bit formulaic. This one, you have to pick one to die, one to traitor. They're going to meet the traitor.
I mean...
It was just...
It was. Paul Henry just threw that out of his hat, didn't he?
Yeah, one of the best episodes.
Chucked it out there.
This series is a particular interest to me as it's filmed just outside my hometown.
What? Near Mount Horrible?
Well, yes. They also produced a drag queen from series 2 of Drag Race Down Under in that town. The manor is called Claremont Castle, which, get ready, is currently for sale.
Hang on. Right, buymeacoffee.com/faithful.
Save those silver bars and it could be yours. I've linked it below.
Has he?
Yes. Mount Horrible is the actual name. That is true.
Oh, okay. I thought it was made up. Brilliant.
This is the country that also has Mount Bitterness.
Brilliant.
Paul Henry lives there.
Of course. Because of his gin.
Mistake River, where Paul Henry skinny dips. I'm adding these bits, by the way. These are my jokes, everyone, okay? I'm not reading these jokes. There is also Mount Dreadful. So, not so surprising. So, there you go. So, yeah, the castle is up for sale, and we have the
here we
link
go.
Here.
How much is it for? I mean, we need a few silver bars now, guys. Come on.
It doesn't say negotiation, so that it's so much that they're not actually putting it out there.
Well, but, we could throw a price on them, then.
14 bedrooms. So
14?
Which of the traitors and faithfuls have been sharing?
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Utah and Mark.
May I say that one of the things that some might argue New Zealand traitors is lacking, some might say is a good thing, they don't do those vignettes where they have like the really slow music, like, who's gonna die? And
I know, they don't show
you
them in their room. Yeah.
And they go...
I know, that is the one thing, the acting, where someone's reading a book, someone's lifting a weight.
Having a bath.
Someone's, brushing their hair in the mirror.
Actually touching themselves whilst looking in the mirror. That's happened.
We can all imagine which character is going to do which, don't we?
One of them could be riding a bike around the room.
We've got the estimated property. Okay. So estimated low price, 1.8 million.
That's dollars, though. That's New Zealand dollars.
High, 2.69 million.
New Zealand dollars, 2.9, so $1.8 million in pounds. Talk amongst yourselves.
So there you go. So that was one of our comments on YouTube. There's some other ones where people are saying they're enjoying the podcast, loving the new series 1. This person has said that I love it when the traitors squabble amongst themselves. We need them to recruit another girl because we don't want another repeat of the all-male traitors lineup. Question is, which one? But, it's all very exciting.
Well, can I just say that the minimum we need is about £600,000. Do you think we can do it? That's a goal.
What are we going to do
when
we move into this mansion?
Invite Paul Henry over for a gin.
That's true.
We can invite they could all ride their bikes to the house. I mean,
this is
then we'll know who rides their bike to work, won't we?
If this is for sale, does that mean they're going to not be filming their next series or what? What's happening? Well, series 3?
I presume the
Is there a series 3? Or
are they going to season 3?
Are they going to move back to the bungalow?
Their house has been upgraded somewhat, hasn't it? Plus, have you noticed that they don't do like the first game in series 1 of the Traitors was find items in a room?
No, they all had a glass, didn't they? Which was like a certain colour.
No, the first thing was they had to find silver bars in this one little room. The room was literally the size of like 10 foot by 10 foot.
Oh, a fireplace.
Yeah, there's one.
Right, so shall we get on with discussing the episode? Because we've just said it's the best episode of the series so far, and we've yet to really talk about it.
But I'm not sure if I would give it that accolade. It was a good episode.
Oh,
Don't
it
get
had
me wrong,
everything you
I had
want.
a fun episode.
It had everything the Traitors episode needs. It had someone cottoning onto a traitor, rallying everyone up, and actually
The house
doing
husbands. The house husbands
Yes.
kicked in again.
Yeah, we're Bin.
Bean. We now know where Bean came from. That was Mike. So if Bean has anyone to be angry at, it's Mike for saying his name is Bean.
A lot of people called him Bean. It must
Bean.
just be the way it is.
Bean.
But it had everything a Traitors episode needs. They got a traitor. There was a secret meetup. Utah sort of took lead out of
Utah,
nowhere.
I
Someone
tell
put
you what.
50p in 50 cents. Sorry, I'm in New Zealand. 50 cents in Utah. He perked up. Got rid of a traitor. We had a recruitment, and then we had a twist we've not seen before, where Jane had to pick 2 people. So it was like what you want, everything you want in an episode.
Also, whoever does get murdered, found out who the traitor
Exactly.
was. Where they don't normally get that luxury on the show. They
I
don't-
was getting I wonder if production were worried because when Jane was like, I might bring Kat in, and it's like, but she has a shield. What would happen?
Yeah, because exactly,
So you murder Kat, but she has a shield, but she's seen your face.
and she can't die because she's got the shield.
So yeah, I bet production were just thinking, oh.
Did you
Do you
notice
think they
that
said to her, just don't pick Kat, please? Because like Bailey seemed a bit random when she turned up. I wonder if production were like, there's a flaw in this. Please don't pick Kat because she has a shield. Secretly.
Well, she also said Joe, don't forget. So she said Kat, Joe, Mark, and Bailey were
Joe
her 4
didn't have a
options.
shield.
That's what I'm saying. So she could have gone for Joe.
Yeah, I know,
Joe.
but
Mark
I'd-
was an obvious one to her for some reason. I don't get this. I don't know why Mark is so obvious to people.
Because
I was
stupid.
Because when we were watching, you said that the best person she could get on board is Utah, and I agree with you 100%. Utah would have been the best
Either
option.
kill or I would have recruited him, but I mean, if not, you're dead.
And Mark's threat when she was like having to choose between Mark and Bailey was a bit of a one, because to be fair, Mark's word isn't exactly got as much strength
No,
as, say, a
exactly.
lot of other players.
For all we
And-
know, Utah's going to come down the next morning and be like, Mark gave me this really suspicious letter. I
Yeah.
think he's a traitor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's picking out Jane, and no one's mentioned Jane since episode 1.
And also, no one knew that Mark had given Utah that letter. So for Mark to say, well, if you murder me, Utah will know. And it's like, well, no, because you didn't...
Also, he knows already. So whether you pick you as a traitor or to kill you, he's still going to have the letter. So I think Jane was stupid to pick Mark. It
But
was silly. She should have picked Bailey and just got rid of Mark.
Mark is giving that letter too much emphasis that I think he believes it has more power behind it than actually he believes. I think
Where did this all come from as well? Like, he suddenly started writing things down once.
Oh, he's been doing it from the beginning.
No, but like, how did he suddenly know that Jane was a traitor?
We don't know if he has put Jane's name in that note.
Well,
That's
he said
another
he had.
thing.
Oh, yeah, that's
well,
true.
he said he has. Mark could be lying. Mark
He did say her when he was talking about it beforehand. He said, I found her as the last
That's
traitor.
true, but then that's still a group of many very good women who could be traitors in this game. I think. Well,
I think she's made a mistake, but we don't actually know the outcome because
well, we don't know,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about that at the very end. We should first of all talk about how Mike's game basically unraveled, and you could see that the source for that really was 2 episodes ago when he started going for Whitney. People were very suspicious immediately that his whole persona, his demeanor had shifted from being very quiet and very calculated from watching from the outside in to then suddenly become very vocal, very powerful. And then they saw that he withdrew himself again and he was just sat at the round table
he
just staring.
played his one card, basically.
Yeah, and they were very suspicious of that. And they started giving him the nickname Dead Eyes Mike because he would just sit there and just stare at the money all the time, like dreaming in his head, or they suspected, of what he could spend the money on. So Mike really did have a target on his back, and
I know.
it felt like a losing battle for Mike the whole episode, because every time he threw a name out, it was just getting ignored.
Well, that's the thing. When traitors go against each other, you can't do it. He did it a bit too early. 2 episodes too early. You can't do it that early because people have got used to the fact that traitors get out traitors now. And I feel like if you're ever applying for the show for the future, everyone, because I know you're listening,
Or watching.
if you're a traitor, faithfuls are now expecting traitors to out traitors. So traitors now have to actually work together, agree to split the money, and throw out names of faithfuls and make the 2 faithfuls fight each other, so other faithfuls think those faithfuls are 2 traitors trying to get each other out. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, there's 2 schools.
Very complex sentence there. But faithfuls are getting too used to knowing that 2 traitors are going to go after each other, so it becomes too obvious now.
There's 2 schools of thought, really, which is that when you first think of the concept of traitors, when you are a traitor, the obvious thing to do is to work as a team. As time's gone on through series of the show, people aren't doing that so much, and traitors tend to be the ones who get the traitors out.
Yeah.
which makes them very obvious then, because Faithful are cottoning on that that's the case. So, as you say, would it be better off for a traitor for the traitors to work better together? So it looks, when a Faithful gets a traitor out, it gives them then more suspicion, maybe.
That's what they need to do, because it's getting too obvious now. That's why we literally lost Whitney and then Mike, one after the other. So if Jane was sensible, she should have picked Bailey, just someone she could team up with, just those two. Both of them go to the final.
Well, she has chose Bailey. I see.
She's killed Bailey, not to recruit.
Well, again, though, we don't know. We don't know, do we? We don't know. But then I think
Mike would be an idiot to think. He was like, "What happens if I say no?" And he was like, "Well, you die."
He didn't. No. Nothing was said. Nothing was said. He just said, "What happens when I say no?" And then said next time. So they went straight to the cutting to the next bit. But I don't know. I feel like Jane had been shaken up by Mark's revelation of his note. But like I say, I think Jane had a few seconds just to kind of think it through. Surely she would have realised that really there was nothing really, there's no follow-up that could have come from that. No. So she should have maybe, although I have to say, Mark's frog hat, that was what made this episode perhaps one of the best episodes. That? I love Mark's frog hat.
Who knitted that? Do you think Jackie knitted that before she left?
Well,
possibly.
Maybe. Are you saying that Jackie, just because she's a little bit older than the rest of them, knits?
I'm sure she said she
terrible
knits,
thing to say.
Did she not say that? Maybe she said she doesn't knit.
So the whole breakfast table leading up to the game.
Can't even remember the breakfast table.
Well, I can remember it very well. Was pretty much conversation after conversation about Mike. Bailey and Utah said outright to Jane that they suspect Mike. Jane kept getting into these conversations as well, which I found funny as well. She kept swerving in and kind of listening to them.
She just sits there, doesn't she? Nods,
but she was good. She didn't say anything. Jane, to be fair, is being a very good traitor. She didn't say anything. She kind of sat back, listened, acknowledged what they were saying, but obviously chose immediately when she started getting wind that Mike was very much on the chopping block, that if she was to defend him, that would make her very suspicious. So Jane consciously made the decision very quickly. I'm not going to defend him.
And you can tell that she even debated. She felt guilty voting for him at the round table, I think. Like, she didn't want to betray her traitor, but it came to the point where it was, if she didn't, it would look suspicious.
Oh, it would look really suspicious. I think she was surprised as well, because I think she always believed that Mike would be the one doing it to her. But then she didn't really do anything to Mike. No. This was all Utah. Yeah. Utah was very eloquent. He got the house husbands together after the game. He created a plan. He got pretty much everyone on board using links from people who knew other people. So he had his main group with him, Jason, Joe, Ciali and himself.
Yeah. Ben
and then
slotted in a little bit, didn't he?
Ben slotted in. But then from that, and Bailey obviously was suspicious, they were then able to kind of expand the suspicion, the name out further, through friends of friends of friends. Funnily enough, the only one who they kind of kept out of the loop was Mark, and Mark was the only one who didn't end up voting for Mike.
I know, what was going on there?
Very odd decision. Very odd decision.
What was it, Jason, wasn't it? Something random?
I do think he's doing it on purpose, just to kind of like give himself a little bit of screen time.
It's slightly annoying though. It's like, why did he do that? It's like they keep talking about how he's a bad faithful, and like even Jane, who's a traitor, was like, I need to vote Mike, otherwise it looks suspicious. And then Mark just went for a random. He's
going for screen time.
What's going on?
In my opinion, I think he's going for screen time.
Batman villain, told you.
What? Because he's going for screen time. I just think he wants to be remembered on the show. I think because when they found out that the traitor had been caught, he then started screaming out like really like sound bites. You know what I mean? And I thought, oh, Mark, come on, I know exactly what you're doing here. So I feel like Mark knows what he's doing, and I think that he's never here to kind of play the game, although he claims he is. I think he's there just to get a little bit of notoriety behind him. No offense, Mark, but that's what I feel. You can tell sometimes when people are on a show just for a little bit of, a little bit of kudos to say that he's done it. So he's just not contributed any use. And the one thing he says he has contributed use toward, we still don't really know for sure. And he's given it to the one person who could easily wipe him away and just erase what he did. And that's Utah. Utah is in the strongest position of the whole house right now. He has got the control. He is able to make sure that if he thinks something, others will follow. And so I suppose you could argue that Mark has chosen the right person giving it to Utah. Because Mark, again, Why did Mark do that, though? Did he think he was getting murdered and so he thought, I'm just going to do this? Because well, he's done this before, though. He did it with Kat. Remember? He shouted out his suspicions. Yeah. Kat agreed with him and he said, all right then, Kat, I'll leave it to you. You do it.
And Kat was like, fuck off.
Yeah, Kat was like, no, this is my game. I'm doing it. Mark doesn't want to be the one... It's strange. Mark doesn't want to be the one handing out the accusations. He wants to be the one watching from the sidelines. He's like who's the kid from Recess who writes down like people who've been naughty on their break. He's like that character.
Gretchen?
Not Gretchen.
Something?
Gretchen's the one with the big glasses.
Oh, I thought that. I don't know.
She's the female character. But he's like that character.
Your references are very dated today.
I'm feeling dated. I'm feeling old.
Do you see on Utah's Instagram, he does lots of wrestling like AC Slater from Saved by the Bell?
I did.
How about that?
For Tonga.
Is that an old reference? You understand that one, yeah?
Of course I know
80s?
Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell is one of the greatest shows ever made.
Very AC Slater.
He does it for Tonga. I think he's done it for like Olympian level. Utah, get in touch to correct me. I do think he's done it Olympian level. Why are you laughing? Because I asked Utah to get in touch.
I'm just laughing.
Utah, do you ride a bike when you go to your wrestling practice? There you go. That's more on point.
What about that? The
brand.
challenge this week, because we've seen this challenge on Australian Series 2, which we do not talk about. It's been banished, literally. But this was a repeated challenge, but this one seemed a bit harder because on the Australian one they were going up and down that thing about 10 times. Well, one person was.
Sam.
On this one they could do it was like going up and down once in half an hour.
A couple of them did it twice.
Yeah, just.
I think they didn't realise how difficult they made it because they only brought back just over half the silver bars.
I would have died. I literally, when I was watching that, I was like, I probably would just do it once and then just stop. If once at all.
To be fair, the game itself is boring. Let's be honest. It's just go down a hill, pick up a bar with a heavy backpack, and then go back up
Mount Horrible. Was it Mount Horrible? I think it was.
A mountain.
I think it's Mount Horrible.
Mount Disgusting. There you go. And
no, that's to the northeast.
Sorry, of course. That's where the drag queen came from. But the interesting part of this game is
Tuck.
Yes, well done. The interesting thing about this game is the midway point where Paul Henry has his tuck shop. Mount Tuck.
He has his pencil.
I
thought it was a cigarette when I saw him. He was holding it between his hands like that. I was like, is he just sitting there smoking and drinking?
He probably does when the camera's not on there. Stinks of gin and cigarettes. And they had to choose whether they wanted to pay that silver bar for a treat. Now, everything's just ridiculous. Beer, you can get it back of the house. Gin, you can get back of the house. You can't get a donkey, to be fair.
They were sweet. They were two cute white donkeys. I would have got one of them.
Dobbin and Nobby.
Yeah, I would have got one of them. You could go up and down a few times then. If you got both donkeys.
Well, I was wondering if you could use that donkey more than once, where you can use it up and going up and down the hill. Because if that was the case, then actually, to sacrifice one silver bar, you probably could have made two more.
Molly didn't think it was fair. She was like, no. I'm going up the hill. I'm not making donkeys.
I wouldn't let the donkeys do it. They look so cute.
I would have just bought them anyway. Just bought them back to the manor.
Well, I would have bought them so they kept away from Paul Henry because you just know that those donkeys were ground down and put in his gin 10 minutes later. I'm telling you, donkey gin. That's what Paul Henry wants to make.
But everyone was offered a shield though. There wasn't like a limited number.
That's right. Which would have been hilarious if every single person took a shield. 3 people did take a shield. Ben, Utah, and Kat.
Who?
Beg my pardon. Ben, Utah, and Kat. Ben and Utah decided to tell the group they took the shield. Not that they had to. Well, you say stupid.
Stupid.
Well,
don't tell anyone. Yeah, because then when the traitors are going to murder, even though they didn't in the end, but if they were going to murder, they wouldn't know who had a shield.
See, in that respect, true.
So they could have, idiots. But Kat was the only smart one.
Well, in the face of it, normally you don't say you've got a shield because it puts you up to suspicion straight away. But funnily enough, Ben and Utah both kind of didn't. People kind of accepted it and said, well, fair enough, actually. It's a difficult game.
It is. I think basically, if you go up once, silver bar. If you manage to do a second, shield.
Story of my life.
Exactly.
Go up once, silver bar.
If you can go twice.
Second time, get a shield.
If you can go twice, you reward yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
if you go once, reward them.
Yeah, exactly. Ben and Utah both did it twice. So I think they deserve it.
Ben and Utah did do it twice. Kat only did it once, but took a shield. Exactly. So that was a bit selfish on Kat's behalf, to be fair. One person,
the way of the world.
One person who didn't take a shield, though, and decided to tell everyone that they hadn't, again, putting a target on their back.
He contemplated it as well. Like, really contemplated
it. He thought about taking a shield. Yeah, it was really odd.
There's no need for you to take one. Weird, but yeah.
But it was Mike again. So again, gave people more ammo to fight for Mike.
It's so weird how quickly this game, where you can just unravel, like within an episode. Like last week, he was literally at the top player, and everyone was like rewarding him. And now it just spiraled so quickly. It's just weird.
Is there a chance that Utah is going to? Because again,
he'll probably gone next episode. Probably they'll be like, "You're a traitor."
But this is it. What if I think though that Mark's kind of helped Utah out a little bit, because I think if Utah starts bringing up all this stuff that Mark's given him, people already don't trust Mark, so it gives Utah more So Mark, I have to say, I think Utah is in such a strong position. There's no way that he's going to get voted now, unless he does something disastrously wrong. There's no way Utah's going to get voted, which means he's in the final. Now,
he could get murdered.
I was about to say, he could get murdered. So he knows that he needs to go for a shield now. This is imperative for him because there's no other way around it. There's still another 3 or 4 rounds of murder to go, unless, of course, the new traitor.
Unless there's some Series 2 twists. That's a quote from a few podcasts ago, isn't it? Do you remember that? Series 2 twist?
Well, I'm still waiting for the Series 2 twist, to be perfectly honest with you. Utah is my brother. But it's I don't know, Utah is in a very difficult position. He's constantly going to have to watch his back now. And I'm worried for him because I want him to make it to the final, because I think if Utah in the final, he will be I think he could be a winner. But will he get there because of the murders that Jane +1 is going to be?
Well, shall we talk about the end stuff? Because we've got a few minutes left. The end twist, because Mike was banished. He admitted he was a traitor, left Jane to be on her own.
Ciarli brought up that Mike had mentioned that he was a traitor from the beginning as well, which I thought was interesting. Why did Ciarli find that so interesting? Do you know what I mean? Why did he find that most...
Did Jackie in her leaving speech not say she was recruited, maybe? I can't remember. I can't remember if she did. But Jane had the dilemma, the traitor's dilemma, shall we call it? The revamped one. So she had to pick 2 people. One was going to be murdered. One was going to be a traitor. Mark and Bailey.
Kat and Joe were on the decision as well, or in the decision making process as well. Kat being a good traitor, and she thinks that she could be a good faithful. She could be a good traitor because she could hide it. Joe, because no one's basically watching. Again, he's someone who's kind of coasting his way to the final.
Yeah, and he's popular in life.
He's popular. He's got no heat on him. They would never banish him. It would
can't go up a hill.
Can't go up a hill, but bless him, he tried.
Nor can I.
There you go. And it's unlikely that it would make sense to murder him. So he is kind of just coasting his way to the final. As we've said, Utah not being chosen feels a bit off. I feel like
that would have been the best thing
decision.
to do, because he can't. It's a choice where you can't decline. So yeah, go for someone like Utah who's in that position of not being suspicious.
Also, I didn't want Mark to be so big-headed to think that he was going to be asked to be a traitor.
No, because he even said, "I'm going to be asked," or whatever. He said something like, and it was like, oh, and then he did, and it was like, no. And then I thought, no, Jane. And then he did his little speech, and I thought Jane's going to murder you, and she didn't. Well, we don't know if she did, but I'm assuming she didn't.
Well, not out of choice. She did choose him to be the traitor.
I know.
Bailey had a good speech, I thought. Bailey said that she will continue to stay under the radar. She's been radar. She's been a good faithful, and Mark would be the easiest to banish because he's pretty much the next on the chopping block, which is true.
I'm hoping next episode opens with Jane saying, "Be like, can I change my mind, Paul?" Because he likes people changing their mind. He just lets them do it, doesn't he?
He just lets them get on with it.
And yeah, I feel like Bailey would have been much better, and it would have been 2 women traitors, and just, I don't know, just better. But like I say, I'm wrong this entire series so far. So who am I to say? We
know she's chosen Mark, but we don't know whether Mark has agreed to it.
Well, you think he's going to rather just kill himself?
No, of course not. Of course not.
So it's going to be a traitor then?
Mark's doing it to stir trouble. Well, no, because you said she could change her mind. If Mark says that, Bailey could then say, Jane could say, bloody hell, I want you to be part of my team, you why don't you... Sorry, we may have to beat that word out.
God, I don't do editing.
Well, you might have to do this one.
Cool. Blimey, blooming neck.
Cool, blimey, neck. But Bailey, which I'd like to see, actually. So that would be a nice little twist within a twist. That Jane changes her mind and goes with Bailey. I mean, Bailey, I don't know. I don't think Bailey would be... I don't think either of them would be good traitors.
I think Bailey could be, because she's so, like, she's one of those under the radar. People just assume she's a faithful. And if she doesn't... The trouble is, when you become a traitor, sometimes you go a bit funny the next morning at breakfast. There was someone in the UK Series 2 one, I think, who went a bit funny the next day. I have a feeling.
There was a guy who thought he murdered someone and he opened the door and they were still there.
Oh, that's my favourite. That's my favourite still image of any series of traitor, is when he walks through the door. It's
that
like,
meme
it literally became a meme. It's so funny.
Pretty decent.
It makes me laugh every time. But yeah, it depends but Bailey seemed quite confident she can just act normal, but you never really know. But is Mark going to be act normal? He's going to be sit there grinning.
No, of course not.
At the table, he'd be sitting there like...
Yeah, and he'll be writing his notes and he'll be like, right, who do I want to get rid of? Yeah. So this is what I mean. And Mark, the only thing I can think of is that Jane chose Mark because she knows that he's going to get banished and she just wants to get rid of him.
I think she's silly because you can't trust him. She can't trust him to work with her. She needed a traitor who she could team up with and just go and just be like, let's not go backstab each other, Bailey. Let's just go to the final. 2 traitors.
But I don't think James looked at it in that way. And I think Mark doesn't have any authority in that group. So it's as much as Mark tries to push it, I don't think Mark will be able to. Mark's desperately trying to attach himself now to the kingpin of the game, which is Utah right now. And it depends on whether Utah will allow him to kiss his feet or not. You know what I mean? It's like Utah has the power to make or break Mark right now. And I just think that Mark
we've seen people fall from grace very quickly. So don't be too confident on Utah. You don't know what's around the corner.
Utah won't get voted. I'm telling you that right now. That's my prediction. So get ready for him to get voted.
Next episode, we're going to open up with Utah.
Utah's been evicted.
Evicted? We're not on Big Brother.
Eliminated.
No.
Banished.
Correct.
Thank you. Utah can only get murdered from this point onward. I must say, can I quickly also mention that Molly and Noel have somehow, I don't know how, gotten this far in the game. Like, I genuinely thought that they weren't going to last as long as they have.
Yeah.
Good for them. I'm saying that with 2 thumbs up. Well done.
Molly literally looks like one of those ones who's just going to get murdered like first or second. Yeah. But she's still there.
And Noel's he's got the kind of...
That's the brother and sister, your alleged brother and sister.
I'm telling you, it's happening.
We'll see.
It's going to happen.
Right, so that's us come to...
Enough talk.
Right, so people have time to get in contact with us before next week. If they want to have comments read out, silver bars, how can they get in contact with us, Alex?
Well, Ben, or Bean, you can get in touch with us by email, faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @Traitors Podcast, on Instagram and Threads @FaithfulToTheTraitors. As I say, you can watch this podcast, so you don't just have to listen to it. You can watch us on Spotify, but you can also watch us on YouTube by searching Faithful to the Traitors Podcast. And underneath the video, you might find there's a little comment section. So click away down there. And also, whilst your finger is hovering over your trackpad or your mouse, don't forget to go over and click subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss any future episodes of Traitors New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, UK, any other English-speaking countries that might do one in the future. Hang on, there is one,
America Series 2 final is actually being blocked worldwide on YouTube, but you can still watch it on Spotify.
No, America hasn't, Canada has.
Oh, is it Canada?
Yeah.
I think America has as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
they're getting really precious over there, aren't they? And what else can you do? Oh yeah, if you like the podcast, give us 5 stars and review us and say why you enjoy listening to the podcast on your favourite podcast app, or you can help us buy Paul Henry's house by going to buymeacoffee.com/faithful and throwing a few silver bars our way. You don't have to get a donkey nor go up a hill to do it.
If we get the house, we're going to get those 2 donkeys as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we're going to
It's a goal.
It's a goal.
It's a goal.
Was it 600,000 pounds?
Well, it's 2 million, isn't it?
New Zealand dollars. So in UK pounds.
Well, that's only 600,000. Is it?
Strong economy up here.
Oh, I might buy it then. I thought New Zealand has the most expensive housing in the whole world, I've heard.
I don't know. I don't follow the market.
Well, I'm going to go move out there then.
Good.
Okay.
I'd love to go there. If anyone wants to invite us over to New Zealand, we'd more than happy.
Lots of begging on this episode from you.
There's loads of things. I want gin. I want to know what the cast are doing to get to work.
You want to wrestle with Utah?
I want to wrestle. No, I just said I saw him wrestle for Tonga. What else?
You're begging all sorts. Donkeys.
I want Paul Henry to send me a cameo.
Or gin. Oh, a cameo. You have to pay for that.
I'd love a Paul Henry cameo.
He ain't
Paul
doing
Henry
nothing
cameo.
for free.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be fun?
He's like the RuPaul of New Zealand. Anyway, right. So until next time, everybody, make sure that you stay faithful.